Hello. Alrighty. What's up, everyone? This is G. How are you? It is time for another video. And I know I've been all over the place with the cats trying to get the litter box cleaned out for Taffy. And when she goes knocking on the door, I'm like, okay, I'm coming. Had to run down there. And anyway, but now it's time for astrology. So, what that means is we're going to take a look at another chart. We have a full moon coming up for March. And so I'm going to show you the full moon chart for March. Yep. You've already actually seen a video about this. So this video is going to try and cover some things that were likely not mentioned in the first video. I will link it below because yes, this is a full moon eclipse. It's not just a full moon. It's not just a worm full moon, as they're calling it, the worm full moon, the spring full moon. It is an eclipse. So I've got the chart drawn. We're going to look at it again, look at some other things that we didn't already see, and give the dates, the degrees, the sign that it's in, all the good stuff. And then talk about some of the ways then you can recognize it. Talk about some of the ways that it can show up in our world. Let's get the chart on the screen. I think you get the idea. It's a full moon. It is not going to be a red full moon, though, okay? That would be more like closer to your harvest moon or the blood moon. And this is not that. Matter of fact, if I were to go and just look at some generic wording for this full moon, March 25th at 3 a.m., a full moon. This is the month, the worm moon, right? That's the name of it, the worm moon. So it's March. This is the moon where the earthworm casts reappear, inviting the return of the robins. The more northern tribes knew this as the full crow moon. Okay, I didn't know that. Interesting. When the cawing of the crows signals the end of winter, or the full crust moon, because the snow cover becomes crusted from thawing by day and freezing at night. The full sap moon, marking the time of tapping maple trees. It's another variation. Oh, okay. So those are different examples of the full moon that happens every March, right? That's just how the cycles go, full moon and a new moon each month. So that was to give you a little bit of background of the non-astrological version of this this full moon. What I will say that we didn't discuss in the first video is that this is a full moon that is going to be considered a tiny one. So it's going to be far away from us. And another way of saying that is an apogee, Apogee, the apogee of the moon, which is basically when the earth and the moon are from the furthest points from each other. Make sense? Like they're the furthest things away from each other. So let me see if I can give you this real quick example of what I'm looking at. Shazam. Is it working? Are we there? All right, let me get me small. Okay, so you see in this example here, this is timeanddate.com. And so they're showing you, if I can expand this a little bit, you see this example, it shows you the supermoon example. We know about the supermoons, right? Because we had the supermoons in 2023. But because the supermoon is the closest to the planet, closest to the Earth, it looks really big because we're closer to it. Whereas a micromoon or an apogee, it's the opposite of the supermoon or the perigee, right? So the micromoon, opposite of the supermoon, is smaller, right? The difference is down here, 13%. Like the supermoon is 13% bigger than the micromoon, which is the one we're going to have in March. It's the beginning of the season. It's when we're the furthest from the moon, okay? So the micromoon looks smaller than a supermoon. Right. The supermoon is 30% brighter, just like they have here. So it says there's no universal rules as to how far away the moon must be to qualify as a micromoon. The following definitions are used as a time are used at time and my bad. Am I not on timeanddate.com? Where am I? Yeah, I'm at timeanddate.com. Okay. I just had to check that. A micromoon is when a full moon or a new moon coincides with apogee, meaning furthest away from the Earth. The point in the moon's orbit farthest away from the Earth. Okay? So you see that there. Because the moon orbits Earth in an elliptical path, which means one side of the path is closer to the Earth than the other. The point in the moon's orbit closest to the Earth is called the perigee, while the point that is furthest from the Earth is known as the apogee, which means the moon is going to be in that apogee point. Okay? When the moon is in the apogee, whether it's a new moon or a full moon, when it's in the apogee, when it's in the furthest from the Earth, it is called a micromoon. All right. Now, I know that's getting a lot of details, but I wanted to just cover some things that we don't normally talk about or things that I already did not mention about this full moon. But that's not all. We have an actual chart to take a look at. So let's go there and you can see the date. Yeah. March 25th. Yeah, there it is. March 25th. Okay. So this is a full moon, but it is a small one because the Earth is at the furthest point from the moon. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because it has a lot to do, first of all, with the tides, right? With the tides of the ocean, right? It makes a difference. So normally with full moons and new moons, people who are near the great bodies of water, the ocean's tides, like they can see the difference. They see the low tides and how low they are, or the high tides and how high they are, right? So we're further away from the planet. I'm sorry, the moon is further away from us. Makes a difference. Yeah, it's going to be the full moon in Libra energy. All right, so we're going to take a look at that on the chart. I won't go too deep into the depth of the South Node, the North Node, and all of that because I did that in the part 1 of this series, which I will make sure that I link that below. Oh, that's my alarm for my mom. Okay, so we'll be checking in shortly. So there it is. Let's go find it. Well, actually, here, if you look on this chart, what I have here is the opposite of where the moon will be. So if the full moon is in Libra, and we know our opposites of Libran energy, what's opposite of Libra? Aries. So we go and take a look at the Aries, and we know automatically the sun's going to be at the opposite end in 5 degrees. And it is. That's the sun in Libra. I'm sorry, in Aries. Oh, my brain is backwards today. There's the moon. There's the full moon, sun and the moon at opposite ends of each other. There you have it in Libra energy. Okay. So let's back the chart up a little bit so we can look at some other things that I may not have mentioned. But since we're now right next to Lilith, because you can see her on the chart, we're just going to point her out. She's at 20 degrees and Juno's at 8, retrograding, all in Virgo. Right. I think it's important because by this time, we're noticing that this black moon Lilith, you see how she's direct, right? She's going to, by the end of this month, be back in Libra. She doesn't stay there long, but she will be there. There's already a short video, a part 2 Black Moon Lilith about that, about her cycles and how she goes back and forth with Libra and Virgo. And it's pretty erratic. So I'll include that below as well because it's another lunar thing. It's the moon, Black Moon Lilith. So it's important to remember and to keep all these things in mind. And if that's too much for you, just watch the videos. Then you don't got to know. I got to know, right? So a full moon is normally a release and an ending. That's just the rule of a full moon. Because this full moon is far away from us, the furthest, matter of fact, right? It usually speaks to, other than the tides being different, it usually speaks to possibly a lesser effect in terms of the releases, right? Instead of like a full blown, the moon is close to us, a big butt release type of a thing, like just blown out of proportion type of a release. It can have, I don't want to say a lesser effect, but it might not seem as extreme. How about that? The moon can represent family and feelings and emotions, mom, mother wound. It is a significant sign of Libra, which is relationships. This is about equality and fairness. Feminine energy is prevalent here. Venus rules this full moon because Venus rules Libra energy. So you see, we got prominent feminine qualities present in a lot of ways. The moon being feminine, Venus is feminine, even though cardinal Aries or cardinal, what was my mind saying? Yeah, Aries at the opposite end is Mars, but the ruler of the full moon being Venus, we think women's rights, we think the courtroom, we think the scales of justice, a full moon in Libra. Right. Okay. So let's back up a little bit more and see what else there is to look at. This over here, because it's Mercury who moves really fast, conjunct Eris, more feminine energy. It's Eris, the female warrior, Mars's sister, right there, that upside down black arrow at 24 degrees and 35 minutes. She has Mercury joining her. So Eris now has a voice. Yeah, it's Mercury and Aries energy, very combative. Eris is already combative. She's the feminine person, female energy, feminine energy that has, whose voice has been ignored, who never had a place at the table, who was told to sit down, to be quiet. It was more of you should be seen but not heard type of energy, especially in Aries, because we think of children. So Eris energy, she is the fighter, the warrior. She is angry. She's already in the angry sign of Aries. Aries typically is angry and frustrated because it doesn't know how to use its words. Think of children when they're small. And we're trying to teach them when you're upset, you have to learn to use your words. You just can't bite somebody, right? It's totally that. Well, now Mercury is conjunct Eris. Interesting, right? I think it's interesting because we've got Venus, the full moon in Libra, feminine energy, the rights, the equalities, the courtroom, lawyer energy on a big stage, especially in the United States, where the courtroom is where we've been popping popcorn for about a year now, and we're still popping it and still having drinks, and it's been like the grand show, right? Paying attention to what goes on in the courtrooms and what's all being, yeah. Anyway, so you get my drift. Jupiter's at 1556. It's actually 16 here. All right. I'm pointing this out because the courtroom and judges and judgments may be a thing, an end to something because it's a full moon. And we're talking about lawyers. We're talking about the justice system. We're talking about the scales of justice. We're talking about Lady Justice when we talk about Libra energy. Lady Justice herself. Lady Justice. Interesting. It's feminine energy that holds the scales of justice, one in each hand. It's a woman. You see all the iconic imagery. It's female energy. Really, really kind of fascinating. So, what's going to be released? What's going to be let go? What sort of a right or equality, or what sort of a ruling, possibly? Feminine energy. Find out more, figure out where Venus is in your chart. As an example, my Venus, because this is actually conjunct something for me, 5 degrees of Libra. I've got something near 5 degrees of Libra. I also have something near 5 degrees in Aries, right? And that matters because this is a full moon eclipse, folks. We're paying attention to both sides, Aries and Libra energy. Do you have something at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 degrees? And it might even go a little bit bigger than that because we even see that in Aries, we got Salacia at 9 degrees, 2 degrees away. So if you're someone who has something near those degrees, you might think of my body, my rights, the freedom of my body, my appearance of my body. How do I appear to people? Like, what gender am I? What color am I? My height, my weight, my clothing, like all that might be a thing. And the rights are civil liberties, right? Because it's a full moon in Libra, a full moon in Libra. We want justice, justice for all, justice for all. Absolutely. So Jupiter in Taurus, what are our values? This Jupiter's technically at 16 degrees because it's 1556. This Jupiter is conjunct White Moon Lilith at 1828. And not far away from it is Uranus of shocks and surprises or disruptions. I'm going to disrupt something. You see, something likely being disrupted. So Eris and Mercury together speaks to combative communication, feminine energy fighting back, Eris having a seat at the table and being able to speak. Mercury's news and social media. Mercury is communication and sales and talking and thinking and networking. We think of social media where a lot of combative stuff occurs because there's no immediate accountability. People can say whatever they want and then dip out. They can be as mean and hateful and cruel as they want and dip out, right? They can write some nasty things and then walk away and be like, huh, screw you. There's no accountability. I can say whatever I want, right? So this may be a time where there could be a possibility of combative words. The thing to check in your chart is, do you have something that is squaring the 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 degrees in Cancer and Capricorn in your chart? So I will draw that in here. I'm just going to go ahead and go red. And if we look for our Capricorn energy in the 20s, we'll say that we're going to mark it right there. And we'll go like that. And then Cancer's right there. And in this chart, it shows there are two things, something at 24 and part of treasure at 26. And that little doohickey right there. Again, these are transits in the sky, so you may not have anything there in your natal chart. This is a transit. It only matters, what I mean by transit is the current planet in the sky. It only matters if you have something there in your natal chart. Okay. But Cancer energy is more feminine energy. It's more things about women and the past and home and family, possibly housing. Mercury can also be housing because it can be the market, literally the news about the market. We've been hearing a lot about commercial real estate and banking and the connections. A lot of people left holding the bag. The freaking moon's nodes are still at 15 degrees. And Vega is here still at 15. So there's still a great cross in the chart. Right. And I mention this because corporations, Capricorn energy, building physical structures, buildings, commercial real estate, Mercury at 23. Mercury already squared this, but possibly something here, if you have it, at 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Now, on the flip side of that, we have a lot in fire right here at 26. Acumen, Galactic Center, and I forget the name of the other one. I forget what it's called. Technically, when I look those up, that's a trine energy, right? And so that trine energy is usually something will happen with ease. Something happens with ease because it's a trine. It's fiery. It's the justice system because it's Saggy. So it could be rulings. It could be literally specific justices, like the names of the specific justices, whether they're the federal justices or, for the state that you live in, for those of us who are in the United States. And Saggy at 26, Aculus, if I'm saying it right, Aculeus. If I'm saying that right, that would be this one right here. Let me get it on the screen. Aculus with the red arrow. You see it at 2607. The definition on that one, it's part of a star cluster associated with the sting of the scorpion's tail. It toughens people for life's challenges. The lore, the story talks about violence. It says danger. There could be sharp words, direct revolutionary impulses. There is a caution that says to keep an eye on the prize, but make way for contrary ideas, meaning keep an eye on the prize, but be open to ideas that are opposite of yours or that contradict yours. It's in beliefs because it's in Sagittarius. This can be religion and philosophy on life, the beliefs about your future. Okay. So keep that in mind. Eris is trining that. Mercury is trining all of that. It's all trining all this fiery stuff we have down here. Okay? That's all trine energy. Let me change that one to blue. You see? So that's blue and that's a trine. So all of this is part of this eclipse because this eclipse in general is a full moon eclipse which says release, but then on top of that, it's also the release because it's the South Node in Libra. Partnerships. Degrees are 1534 for the South Node, and these nodes stay here for a while. So because there's a big T-square, or I'm sorry, a big great cross in the chart, there could be stress and tension, right? I'm going to connect the part 1 to all of this, which is the Libra eclipse for 2024. Go watch it if you want more information about this South Node, if you want more information about what it could mean for you in your life, and then get all the other details of what I spoke about and what sort of a new beginning you could be possibly looking forward to. And it will pertain to your Aries energy because that's where the North Node is. All right? So thank you for watching. If you're still with me, I appreciate you. I will see you in the next one. Take care.